Today's show is brought to you by My Patriot Supply. Go to preparewithk2d4.com and save $70 off their popular 4-week food kit. That's preparewithk2d4.com today.
Sheepsquatch. What the heck is it? It's a West Virginia phenomenon coming up on Talk is Cheap. Ladies and gentlemen of planet Earth and beyond, welcome to another episode of Talk is Cheap. My name is Pete Hobleib, and welcome. Coming to you from the underground lair of Mr. Dan Holfeld. How you doing, sir?
I am doing.
Good.
Good. In the house. Another episode. Another interesting episode.
Yeah, this one comes as a submitted topic from a viewer and actually a friend of mine, Anthony Sedlick, who is probably the most motivated and busy man I know in my life. Anthony, you are certainly a model of getting stuff done, so keep it up, man.
Is this somebody you work with?
It is. It's I met him at work, but we kind of do hang out on occasion together outside of work. So
I just want to thank everybody for listening today. Again, we're on audio podcasts, also BitChuteLBRY.tv. Check us out over there because we'll see how long YouTube goes, but she's clanking along, that's for sure. Some other housekeeping before we do get into this episode. I want to talk about the poster contest.
Yes.
Over here, it's been collecting cobwebs in the studio. I figured, why not give it to somebody that could actually appreciate it? So we're going to have ourselves a contest, and I drew up some plans for that, and that entails Remix Our Theme Contest. Download the link in the bottom of the description. Again, the whole theme song for our intro that you just seen is down there. It does contain separate segments if you wish to use it, like just the bass or whatever. You click on that, download 12 files there, click on that. It'll bring you into some other links for those separate instruments if you choose to use those. Again, it must be submitted by June 1st, uploaded to YouTube or another video platform, and send that over to k2d4network@gmail.com. And remember, higher quality because we want this for our future show. Yeah,
if you're the lucky one that gets selected and it makes the cut, your work will be the theme song for the episodes, I should say. I do also want to say, and I mentioned it during the last show, if you don't want to deal with the current theme song, you want to come up with something on your own, go for it. I know Dan isn't a big fan of that because you got to worry about copyrights, etc. But you know what?
You should just see this one I get flagged with. This one I'm using right now is Creative Commons.
Okay.
What that means is you got to have that link in the bottom of the description.
Oh, to give them proper credit or whatever.
So for the longest time when I first used it, I didn't put it down there, and they kept flagging episode after episode. And it's like, come on, guys. So it's like as soon as they do that, no monetization, or actually they take the monetization, I believe.
So they take the money that you're making.
It was a big freaking mess. It just kept going. And finally, I think I caught up because how they quit flagging them all.
You figured out what they were looking for. So anyway, looking to kind of change it up a little bit. Dan, how long have we been at this, man? Any idea? 3-4 years now?
2015 or 2014, I want to say. This might have been started in 2014.
I think based upon my work history, this would have been like May or June of 2015.
Okay.
Because I didn't know you until end of 2014. We had not crossed paths yet.
Okay.
So I think so we're looking at, 2015 is 2020. It's 6 years?
That's crazy, huh?
Are you kidding me, Dan?
It sure as hell doesn't seem like that long.
Oh, my God. So anyway, it's been a while since we've had this theme song. That's my point. Help us mix it up and give it a little modern flair, a little 2021, if you will. And
we'll have his poster over here. You can have us sign it or not if you want.
If you want us to sign it, great. If you don't and don't want us to clutter up the poster, we won't. We don't ask you.
We could write a personal message on it if you want.
Yeah. Dan will make out with it if you want before we send it out. I'm sorry. Please don't request
dirty
that.
bastard.
Please do not request that, okay?
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
A ripping and a tearing.
The ripping and the tearing. The ripping and the tearing.
There you go. All right, back to let's get this back on track. Sheepsquatch. I think By the description, you know what the heck this is, even if you've never heard about it before. But anyway, good friend Anthony Sedlec has patiently waited for probably a year and a half or so, at least, to get us to talk about this a little bit. I had never heard of it. And Dan, I came 6 years ago or so. I came on this show wanting to talk about Bigfoot and all things paranormal. I'm a kind of a Bigfoot guy. Although not a ton of activity has happened in the Bigfoot world lately, but still I'm a strong proponent that there's a good chance that there's something out there lurking in the woods. But anyway, when I heard about Sheepsquatch, I was like, whoa, what the heck is that? I've never heard of that. And I've been in some deep, dark corners of all things, in the woods going bump at night and stuff, going bump in the night and such. And I hadn't heard of this, but so, went to the trusty cyber web and started looking around and, pulled some interesting information about, the Sheepsquatch. Got something to say? Got something to say there, Dan?
Just wondering if it's bullshit or not.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, I'm going to reserve any judgment till the end of this. So, okay. So Sheepsquatch, it's also known as the white thing. If you're down in the area that this is being spotted and talk to the locals, they call it the white thing. It was actually first documented by Ruth Ann Musick in the Telltale Lilac Bush in 1965. Talks about kind of the first publicized account of coming across the Sheepsquatch in Kanawha County, West Virginia. And over the decades, it continued to be spotted throughout numerous counties in West Virginia, in the southwest corner, Boone, Kanawha, Putnam, and Mason counties. These sightings continued all the way. The most recent one that I could come across was 2015, so not terribly long ago. Interesting note, Dan, we did a Mothman episode not too long ago.
Yes.
And we talked about a place called Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where the Mothman was spotted. If you recall, it had been spotted several times, damaging and sabotaging the bridge. We spent some time in that episode talking about Mothman, and we had instances in Chicago, up and down the East Coast. So it's not just Mothman isn't necessarily a West Virginia specific phenomena, but they do take it pretty seriously. And although I don't have a photo of it, they actually have a statue of Mothman because of the Point Pleasant sightings.
Has that been around in our area too?
I
know they said Minneapolis, but I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't come across any Wisconsin sightings for Mothman. We have a ton of Dogman sightings in Wisconsin toward the eastern side of the state, actually. So that's we have the Dogman. It must have chased away the Mothman. But for those that tuned in to the previous episode of the Mothman episode, I'm kind of in the Thunderbird camp on that. But anyway, I digress. But West Virginia in this area is not, I guess, unfamiliar with the paranormal and seeing weird stuff. So Mothman was in the 60s. Sheepsquatch started competing with it in 65 and continued on for the decades that followed. The most notable was a cluster of sightings in the 90s, the mid 90s, I believe, in the TNT area of West Virginia. Kind of, dynamite,
yes.
Right? Which apparently was a bunch of sulfur mines and such that they used to, collect to make TNT. Boone County. And which is interesting, I put a little historical tidbit in here. Boone County formed in 1847, named after Daniel Boone, who, coincidentally enough, has an account in his memoirs about coming across the Sasquatch at some point. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Heard of Boone's Farm?
I don't know if Boone's Farm line is to say, but you know what, Daniel? If you got your fingers in that, good for you, because you have generations of high school and college kids getting messed up and having wicked hangovers from that stuff, man. So it was formed in 1847. Daniel Boone spent some time in there in like the late 1700s. Actually was a member of the Virginia Assembly from Kanawha, so as the sign says. So anyway, there's a little Daniel Boone connection there. Click that link. Let's pull up the map. I just want to kind of show the viewers kind of what we're talking about. If you want to scroll out a little bit, provide some perspective there. Big Ugly Wildlife Area, kind of cool name if you ask me. I'd like to do a show about how that got the name, the Big Ugly. So you can see, hit the satellite image too, Dan, for those that are watching on the video. When we talk about things like cryptids and undiscovered species, especially something as such as the Sheepsquatch, I always like to look and see how, rural versus urban it is. And if you look, Dan, we are in the foothills of the Appalachians. Everything on this satellite map here, it's Bing Maps. Are we on Bing?
Apple.
I'm sorry. It is, forested. There's some like kind of open meadow type, maybe field areas, maybe somebody's, farming for hay or whatever. But for the most part, there's not any large cities. It is, terrain here, dude. If you look at this, man, there is lots of woods.
Is this pin exactly where this?
That's like the
General
county seat or whatever is determined, or the center of the county or whatever. So it's, just kind of the pin shows where Boone County is. But go ahead and scroll out a little bit more, Danny. You can kind of see where the Appalachians start if you look to the right of the screen here.
Oh, here?
Yeah, keep scrolling back out. You'll even see it even better. And a little bit further, you can see where the topography kind of gets a little more mountainous. So I would call these the foothills of the Appalachians, but it is in a huge swath of wooded, forested area. So, putting the Squatch hat on, and I do have a Squatch hat, by the way.
They have a Madison.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them around around the country. This does not preclude any possibility for this, because it is a wild, rural area, and I can imagine that, albeit people might get out in the woods, it is not a highly frequented place. So anyway, I wanted to kind of just share a little perspective that, okay, check the first box off. It's in an area that could house some sort of undiscovered, I'm not going to say primate, but I'll say life form. So what the heck is a Sheepsquatch? I'm sure we've all got kind of a mental image of what a Sheepsquatch is, but I'm going to try to describe it a little bit based upon alleged eyewitness accounts. It's described as a four-legged creature. So a lot of these accounts actually talk about it on four legs, walking like a quadruped, but then you do find instances where it gets up on its hind legs and charges or runs off. So it kind of like swaps between them. Quadruped.
You sure got the names this time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it means four-legged, right? Like a horse or a deer or a cow. They use the four legs as their primary mode of locomotion. It's a four-legged creature, seen, mostly like, I guess, on all fours, but at times, especially when it's being aggressive, it gets up on its hind legs, and covered entirely with white fur. And some people describe it as wool-like. Okay. It's got a dog-like head, so long, pointy head, saber-like teeth, so big fangs and teeth, and goat-like horns. Now, some of the accounts describe it as a single, straight horn, kind of like an immature goat or something, but others describe like the full curl ram. So, maybe it's got to do with their age or whatever. But there are discrepancies in the description. What's interesting, it's got raccoon-like hands. So, raccoons have almost human-esque hands. If you ever looked at the front paws of a raccoon, with claws, and then a long possum-like tail. So no hair on the tail. It's, for those that may not have seen a possum's tail, it's like skin, heavy, leathery skin. But no hair on it. So it's kind of got a little bit of everything on this one.
This is coming from anecdotal evidence?
Yeah, yep, all alleged eyewitness accounts and stuff. Obviously, if they would have had a dead body at some point, we wouldn't be interesting. We wouldn't be doing it on the show, right? And it supposedly smells of sulfur, which is interesting because some people say, it's like some sort of demon spawn from the sulfur mines of the TNT area. When I kind of look back and kind of reference some of my other Sasquatch type research I've done, many times Sasquatch sightings and experiences, encounters, witnesses do describe like a very foul, rotten egg type smell. It's like really pungent. And we do see that in many animals today right now. The skunk is probably the most commonly known one that has some sort of gland that can secrete an awful smell. So some people think that, it's part of their glands that do this, and if they're aggravated, they might squirt out their juices and whatnot. What I've got next for those that are viewing is an alleged trail cam photo featured on an episode of Mountain Monsters. Now, there were some videos I wanted to play, but I know that we get flagged for copyright if we get to take too many liberties in clips. So I do want to direct folks, look up Destination America, Mountain Monsters, season 2. They do have a little blurb where they talk about some weird stuff going on.
What is this on? History Channel, or is this?
Is it Discovery? I think it's Discovery. I think it's Discovery Channel.
Yeah, they would have flagged it.
Yep. And so, but anyway, check it out. It's a short segment of an episode where they talk about Little Green Man and some other things too. But, here's an alleged trail cam photo. Looking at this, Dan, pretty inconclusive. It's not a deer.
Ghillie suit, probably.
Yeah, it could be a ghillie suit. Looks like there's even a potential for some photo chopping in there. Got some pretty crisp edges, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for whatever that's worth, I did find that and wanted to provide that photo. But tune into Discovery Channel Mountain Monsters season 2, and you can find that and check it out there. Some of the clips that I did find, it's heavily produced, heavily sensationalized. Of course, you got the rednecks out there missing teeth, wearing strapped on with, shotguns and rifles, trying to go out there and get this Sheepsquatch. But thought that was worthy of note. Now, Dan, before I do get into the accounts that I came across online and kind of break those down a little bit, I do want to take a quick, short segue here to talk to run a little something from one of our sponsors at Patriot Supply.
No matter what the future brings, there's one smart thing you need to do if you haven't already done so. Stockpile emergency food. At any moment, disaster can strike, especially a financial collapse. If you're not prepared, you'll regret it. But with emergency food from My Patriot Supply, your worries are over. Their food lasts up to 25 years in proper storage, so you'll never go hungry or stand in food lines. My Patriot Supply is America's leader in survival food, and I've arranged for you to save $70 off their popular 4-week food kit that gives you 2,000 calories a day. Go to preparewithk2d4.com and get the emergency food you need before the next emergency. Your 4-week kit will arrive discreetly at your door in just a few days. Don't wait. Now is the time to prepare for the future. Visit preparewithk2d4.com. That's preparewithk2d4.com today.
Thanks, Dan. A good example, look at what the folks went through in Texas, Dan, with that cold spell. They were trying to get the bare essentials, the breads, the eggs, the milks down there to keep shelves going. For those folks that did have the mindset enough to get some emergency food supplies, I'll tell you that's one less thing they had to worry about.
What was also funny is some people are so stupid, like they left their food in their fridge and they could have just threw it outside so it went bad in the fridge.
Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah, stuff like that. Using charcoal grills to heat their house and stuff.
Did you try your food yet?
Dan, last time we met, I promised that I would go through a couple. I didn't, not yet.
You had one homework assignment.
I know,
and
Dan,
it was a good one.
It was. And, Dan, the way I look at it is I look at that bucket of food that I got. I'm like, man, it's nice to try it and see if it's good. But if I eat that, I ain't going to have it when I need it, so it's a little bit of a, I got to find a good reason to bring that out and cook it. I can't justify tapping into the emergency food stuff just to see what it tastes like.
Yeah, but we need Pete Hallbeib's backing on this.
Yeah, well, you know what? The broccoli cheese soup we had, I will say, was good and delicious and totally acceptable in an emergency situation. It would be gourmet quality if you were sitting in your house in Texas, freezing half to death, and all you had was a little camp stove to cook meals on. So
definitely.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some of these accounts. Now, Dan, when I go through and I do my cybernetic research on these topics, what I like to do is I like to hear people's names. I like to see newspaper articles, video clips of them talking about their accounts. Mm-hmm. Outside of this Mountain Monsters episode, there was really no one talking about this. I have accounts I'm going to talk about, but I could not find any backing evidence on any of this stuff. Except for the Mountain Monsters episode, other than websites that talk about it. And what's really interesting about this Sheepsquatch is that I spent time on YouTube. The YouTube videos, the websites are almost like literally copied
Identical,
and pasted from each other. So
There probably is.
I mean, I was watching this YouTube video and the guy was literally reading off the website I was looking at,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, exactly. I mean, I don't know how they can get away with that with plagiarism and
to
stuff.
be fair, well, as long as, is he adding in his own?
He'd add some stupid jokes every
Yeah,
now and then. But I was like, oh my gosh.
But in all honesty, Sheepsquatch, I mean, I've never heard of the damn thing. It's like a rare thing to try to type up.
Yeah, and so I did go in there a little bit skeptical of this, and because I'm a huge proponent of the quite possible existence of Sasquatch. I don't like to see these Sheepsquatches and stuff pop up because, it kind of muddies the water and provides that smoke in there that we don't like to see. But I digress. Okay, accounts. I'm going to start. 2015 in Fulks Run, West Virginia, allegedly 6 campers spotted an 8 to 9 foot tall animal. It charged the campers. So it charged at the campers. It came to a river that was separating them. And after some, attempts to find a crossing, it eventually waded across. And then when it came out on the other side of the river, here's the interesting twist. A loud screech, the campers estimated originating about 2 miles off. I don't know how you would determine that, but a loud screech in the distance that they had never heard the likes of before, echoed through the valley. This Sheepsquatch stopped, looked up, and then turned and ran the opposite direction. I'm assuming back through the river. It didn't say. So 6 campers supposedly had an encounter in 2015 with this thing. Go back a little further, 2004. There was
curious. Was there names for these campers or anything?
No, that's what I'm saying, Dan. There's no names. I mean, I Googled, I DuckDuckGo'd 2015 Fulks Run, West Virginia, Sheepsquatch. I just found this article. There's no names associated. So, okay, I can sit down and type up accounts too and all sorts of stuff. In 2004, this is one of the times I did find a name, and this is, I believe, featured in that Mountain Monsters episode as well. There was an alleged sighting by 2 men, Dakota Cheeks and Ricky Joyce. They were in Kentucky, Breckenridge, and they were on a weekend hunting trip. And they got there at night. The next day, they found one of their dogs they brought. Apparently, they were hunting with dogs with a broken neck. Ooh. In the ditch by camp. They had described it as being nearly twisted all the way around, which is interesting because there are many alleged Sasquatch encounters where dogs get, their heads and necks twisted and or dismembered because apparently the Sasquatches don't like the dogs either. That's why many dogs will run the opposite direction when they encounter something like that. They heard strange noises as well when they were on this camping trip. One night, the dogs that they had remaining ran off. They became scared. They ran off. 2 hunters heard something large. It was banging on the camper. It actually tipped over the camper that they were in. Oh. Okay, they said they caught a glimpse of it. It was big and white, at least 9 feet tall. It released an ungodly, and I quote, from Dakota Cheeks, an ungodly gut-curling growl, and it came straight at us. So again, this encounter is described in that Mountain Monsters episode. Apparently, with the camper tipped over and them out, and it came right, they made it out of there one way or another. But okay, so Dakota Cheeks, Ricky Joyce. Did some searching on them. They pop up all over on this Mountain Monsters episode. I got tired, and about the 5th or 6th page in on the DuckDuckGo search, I gave up. Said, you know what? All right, okay, whatever.
It's all public.
It's all public. Go out and do it. So Dakota Cheeks, Ricky Joyce, Google them or DuckDuckGo them and see what you come up with. Going back a little further, 5 years prior, 1999, Boone County. This is where we're starting to get into those Boone County sightings. 2 campers heard snorting around their camp. They thought it initially was an aggravated bear. It was circling them, breaking branches, kind of that general like scruffiness that the agitated bears do. And all of a sudden, a Sheepsquatch charged out of the darkness, out of nowhere at the campers. Apparently, they were camping somewhere close to their backyard, because the next part of this is that these campers, when the Sheepsquatch charged them, they ran back to the house, but the Sheepsquatch stayed like in the forest on the edge. It didn't actually come out into the clearing leading up to the house. The next day, they went out in the daylight. Their campsite was torn up. Dirt and everything was all torn up. So whatever it was allegedly tore up their campsite. Again, 2 campers. That's all I got. No names, nothing. Boone County. 1995, go back a little bit. A couple driving in a car, an unnamed couple, saw a white beast in the ditch. They had stopped and looked at it. They claimed it had 4 eyes. Interesting thing, allegedly claimed that this creature then attacked their car, beating and whatnot. And then, of course, at that point, they took off, and sped away and found allegedly some scratches and dents on their hood of their car.
95.
Yep, in 95.
Well, they should have grabbed pictures of it.
You'd think that there would be something out there, a YouTube video, an article in the paper, is somebody, sharing these photos. Couldn't find it. Would love to see in the comments somebody post a link and tell me I'm an idiot and have terrible internet sleuthing skills because it was right out there. Would love to be proven wrong on that. 94, a Navy seaman spotted it in the forest and observed it drinking from a creek. Again, Boone County. So, a Navy seaman, there's credibility, but again, no name associated with that. And then in 1994, 2 children saw it while playing in their yard in Boone County. They described it as a large white bear, which is interesting because in the Sasquatch world, the small children encounters of Sasquatch, they always describe it as a bear. I think one of the more recent ones, and one that really perked my ears up, was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and I think it was one of the Carolinas, somewhere in that area. A 5-year-old child went missing for 3 days, and I remember it was all over the news. They had hundreds of people looking for this child. And what was unique about the situation is it was unseasonably cold. It was raining, and the temperature at nights were going to dip into freezing. So everybody was terrified this little kid was going to freeze to death. Well, he was found 3 days later, about a quarter mile from where he went missing. So Dan, you live in the country. Your driveway is probably what, a quarter mile? Is that
half a mile?
That your driveway is a half a mile.
Yeah.
So kid was found halfway down the driveway, right, in an area where numerous searches had been conducted. And when he was asked, where were you the last 3 days, the small child described it as, and I forget the kid's name, but this was documented. MSN, Fox, pick your news outlet, and this was covered. He described it that a friendly bear took care of him for 3 days. Okay, so of course in the Sasquatch world, your ears perk up, right? Because black bears do not tend to take random children under their wing to make them survive.
Polar bear.
Yeah, right.
Because they're so friendly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So, interesting that these children described it as a large white bear, right? Because especially if they're not familiar with this potential phenomena, they're going to try to describe it in terms that they know. And, that's one of them. For those that are joining us online, here's some artist renditions of what the Sheepsquatch looks like. Really what I want to point out here is that depending on your description, who's seen it, it looks a lot different. So
the first one's looks like ears.
Yeah.
I don't see any horns on this one.
Yeah, maybe that's where the horns are supposed to be. You can kind of see the fangs a little bit.
They look furry, though. Am I wrong? That looks like
no, that does look like the ears are furry. So not really any, big pronounced horns.
There's saber tooth here.
Yeah, and look at your scaly kind of possum-like tail, and it's on 4 legs, right? Dan, you'd agree?
Yeah. So
here's another one. This is some sort of drawing model thing, and it shows like kind of an upright, more of a big Sasquatch type thing with that fangy dog-like head and the big full curl ram horns on it. Totally different than that first drawing that we saw, right, Dan? Like very, very little resemblance other than its hair covered, right? This one doesn't even have a freaking tail on it.
It doesn't have, I would say if you could exaggerate, the horns, that's tough.
Yeah, right. It's tough just to say that these are...
It does have like these other teeth here that, if the other person exaggerated these front fangs, teeth or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and that first one's got a little more rounded head, but you can kind of go down. It's got very human-like hands on it. It doesn't really show the feet, and I can't see a tail.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers.
Fingers, yep.
Yeah, a couple more here.
Okay, so that one's a little kind of a hybrid between the two now, right? You've got it upright, white covered. You've got the full curl of the ram, but you have the pronounced fangs in the tail on this one. This is another artist rendition because unfortunately I don't have any photos of this thing to share with us. If we did, we may not be doing the show. Here's another rendition. It's got the goat-like horns, but they're curled down instead of up. This is very clearly walking on 4 legs. It looks more like a polar bear, right? With an attitude, if you will.
With horns.
And then this last one I put in for those watching is the Wampa from Star Wars.
Oh.
So if you look at
the Wampa had horns.
apparently, yeah, that's what I found because I thought that it was kind of funny. Some people were making some comparisons to the Star Wars creature that's
sure
in
as
that
hell
cave.
could be.
Right, if you go up, it's got that downward curl. It's not a far stretch to say that this is something.
People are. Yeah.
And when you get into Star Wars, and there's rumors that George Lucas had modeled, Chewbacca after Sasquatch sighting or encounter that he had heard about or experienced. He denies it. Says he designed it after his dog, which was like some frou-frou type dog. Anyway. So,
well, I sure as hell wouldn't want to encounter one of them. That'd be scary.
I can tell you what, real or otherwise, if I think I see something like this out in the woods, I am beating feet the other direction, man.
Yeah, anything that stands up on its legs and has horns.
Yeah, it's
a little scary.
I mean, it kind of looks like a Krampus a little bit too, right? And for those that are familiar, but you're absolutely right, Dan. It would be terrifying to come across something like this in the woods, just from the pure unknown standpoint. So my assessment here, Dan, just from the lack of, even, newspaper coverage or interviews and stuff. We've had some pretty sketchy stuff and some people that say some pretty weird stuff on this show. This one had very little evidence to back anything up other than just some good stories on the internet. So I'm going to kind of mark this one out as
all fake.
Likely not real, but you know what? If it's out there and somebody's watching this and has footage or pictures or other information, I would love to hear it. I will talk about it in another episode. So, Anthony, thanks for the topic, but man, I can't hitch my wagon to this one, brother. I think that this is kind of comes from a good story, and that's about it. And I can't even attribute this to misidentified Sasquatch just for the mere fact that there's horns on this thing, and you just don't see that in the Sasquatch side of things. So
I'll close us out with our voicemail, folks. We need to get these voicemails up. Call in, let us know anything. Say, correct us on the Sheepsquatch if you wanted to point us in another direction.
Yeah, I would love to hear that. Or just tell us how things are going, man. We just want to hear from you. Keep it to a minute or less. You'll most likely get it aired during one of our episodes, so you can hear your voice forever emblazoned upon the internet. So give us a call. Tell us where we're right, where we're wrong. Point us in directions. We're here for you, man. We want to make sure we're doing things for you. So
that's right. And the number is 1-256-510-5234. 1-256-510-5234 or 1-256-510-K2D4. Makes it really easy. So with that, let's close out, and I guess we'll see you guys in another couple weeks. I'm going to cover the mud flood.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You talked a little bit about it off camera, what that is, and I'm not entirely certain, but I am looking forward to that episode. So,
all right, till later, guys.
Talk is cheap. Cheap is talk.